The Florida Keys is a barrier reef. It is basically the third largest in the world, and it stretches from north of Key Largo all the way down to Key West. We have over 500 different species of fish that live in our coral reefs.
They're home to probably as much biodiversity as a tropical rainforest, and home to species we haven't even discovered yet.
And the charge and the energy that it brings to you as you're descending upon these wrecks is just incredible.
It's so interesting, but spooky at the same time, looking at a man-made object underwater.
Educate these divers where when they leave, they have a new sense of why sharks are important and how they can become involved to help protect them.
It was a perfect day. There was zero current. The viz was 200 feet. It was absolutely flat, calm. It just went down without a hitch.
We needed to get ahead of it and rescue some of those corals. Make sure that we protected them, created a bit of a Noah's Ark, if you will, of those corals, because we were watching that disease just burn through our reef.
We want the corals to grow faster, to be more resilient, so we can catch up with the climate change that is ongoing.
I have every confidence that we can buy corals time to persist into the future.
We still have a planet that's tremendously bursting with life, and we still have a chance to maintain that.
A shipwreck called the Crown Jewel of Islamorada, located in the Florida Keys, is filled with artifacts of its former life. You can't help but explore this underwater time capsule. Curious eels, schools of fish, and crystal clear water make this undersea world a magical place. And then there are the corals and reefs teeming with life, including sharks, not to be feared, but revered. And that's what shark awareness programs in Islamorada are hoping will change hearts and minds. Shipwrecks. The mere word conjures up images of pirates, battles, and huge structures laid to rest on the ocean floor. Perhaps Islamorada's most iconic is the Eagle, a 287-foot ship that lays in 110 feet of water, is popular with divers and photographers alike.
The Eagle is part of the Florida Keys Wreck Trek. It's the crown jewel of Islamorada wreck diving.
Before water enthusiasts flocked to the wreck, she had another purpose as a freighter. In the mid-1980s, she caught fire. 2 Coast Guard cutters couldn't save her. The superstructure was destroyed and laid to rest just off Islamorada.
She went down nice and intact and upright, but in 1998, Hurricane George came by, lifted her up, flipped her on her side, and broke her in half. So she stayed like that until 2017, and then Hurricane Irma came and crushed one of her sides and broke one of her stacks.
But there's still a lot to discover when diving the Eagle.
One of the cool things about the Eagle is that it's not in extreme depths. You know, a lot of the wrecks here are so big, they're so massively tall, that in order to maintain you know, no hazard for navigation for boats, they have to sink them in really deep water, you know, from 140 feet, 125 feet, some of those big wrecks, where the Eagle, because of her size and that she's on her side, that you actually can do a full dive in like 70 feet of water, and you know, at its greatest depth, 110, 112 feet. So I would recommend you have an advanced rating just because it is beyond that 60-foot depth. But it's not, you know, it's not your very technical type diving. It's very accessible for all divers, you know, that have that advanced rating and on. Then you'll have your black grouper down there, your rays, all the usual suspects. The Eagle is a massive artificial reef, and it does exactly what that says, an artificial reef. It attracts all fish life that's around, and it's absolutely loaded. and amazing. On top of the wreck, in about 75 foot of depth, when you're on top of it on the hull side, you'll see, your pelagic fish. You got your amberjacks, your permit, your African pompano. You'll have schools of yellowtail snapper. You'll get schools of mangrove snapper.
Cloaked in colorful sponges and coral, the Eagle is teeming with sea life, just waiting to be explored.
Even though they are awesome, I can't help but always feel like I'm some sort of explorer going down on these wrecks that I know everyone else has already seen before, but I always keep that little hope of like, oh, maybe I'm gonna see something new. I'm gonna see something nobody else has seen before. It feels like going through like an old ruin, like a Indiana Jones, checking out something new. And the same thing with Indiana Jones, you come across all this neat stuff that you wouldn't have seen anywhere else, whether it be sharks, turtles, coral, any other sort of life like that. It's the whole package. You get to check out something new and exciting, which is a wreck, on top of you're seeing all this beautiful wildlife down there as well. And it's a roll of the dice. Every single time you go, you're gonna see something new, whether it be on a reef or a wreck. You just get the added bonus that it's a cool wreck.
Artificial reefs, I think, help give Mother Nature a jump start when it comes to coral reef conservation. It takes a very long time for a coral reef to get big and bulky where it needs to be to have shoreline protection. So if you can use an artificial substrate and then put corals on it, you get back to a 100-year-old, 150-year-old reef more quickly.
And that's promising news. A new purpose for ships that are past their prime buys time for corals that are struggling to survive. The reefs off of Islamorada are unparalleled. Crystal clear water allows divers and snorkelers to experience all that the area has to offer. A rich and diverse ecosystem that includes 9 reefs in all, with each offering unique seascapes that keep people coming back year after year.
What's unique about the reefs in the Keys is that they're all quite different. And if you start at Key Largo and move your way down all the way to Key West, that whole track of reef, we call it the barrier reef, third largest barrier reef in the world. Depending on where you're at, whether you're in Key Largo or Key West or Big Pine, the reef's gonna be different. And here in Islamorada, I think what makes the reef unique when it stretches through this track of land we call Islamorada is that the reefs get deep.
With an abundance of tropical sea life, coral heads, and ledges perfect for sheltering fish, it's a diver's paradise.
So you can dive on top of the reef at 40 feet, and you can follow that steep wall down to 90 feet and have a nice wall-like reef dive. And then at the base of that 90 feet, you can have these massive coral heads, that attract life as well. And that's unique here in the Keys.
Green moray eels swim along spur and grove channels, and it's not uncommon to get up close and personal with nurse sharks hiding underneath overhangs. Islamorada is known for its brilliant underwater colors, especially when you're diving or snorkeling in shallower water.
We have these patch reefs, that are in shallower water that not only can you dive and have amazing, ambient light with brilliant colors at that depth, you can snorkel them as well. They're, they cater to both the snorkeling industry and the diving industry.
Pickles Reef is the perfect place for shutterbugs to capture incredible sea life. In only 15 to 25 feet of water, you'll come across small marine life that you can't detect on deeper dives. If you're lucky, you'll spy bright orange and yellow flamingo tongue snails with black markings, reaching a little over 2 inches. You'll have to look closely to find them. One of their habitats? Soft corals, where they feed. Divers might be tempted to take them as a souvenir, but conservationists ask that you leave them alone, since the numbers in heavily visited areas are dwindling. 6 miles from Pickles Reef is Davis Reef, where you'll see something that will surprise you. Down in the depths lies a Buddha statue. Yes, this reef is full of surprises.
and rub his head for good luck, rub his belly for fertility. Or you could pop down a little bit further south and hit Alligator Reef, which is known for the USS Alligator, a ship that ran aground.
It occurred in 1822. The vessel has an impressive past, making 2 voyages to the west coast of Africa to stop ships used to import slaves. She met her demise while protecting a convoy from pirates. All that remains of this valiant vessel are twin piles of ballast stones. Reefs dot the underwater landscape of Islamorada, and while they're great to dive and snorkel, they also play a huge role in keeping our oceans healthy.
There's so many things we know about corals that make them incredibly important to how the earth works and oceans work. And corals are very much the canary in the coal mine. They are telling us we are changing our oceans too fast and in ways that we can't support life in. And so if coral reef ecosystems fail, it's the bellwether for the next ecosystem.
As we grapple with the realities facing our reefs, Koss remains hopeful.
I have every confidence that we can buy corals time to persist into the future, but it's going to take a big effort. This is truly an all-hands-on-deck moment.
Sharks, for many, the mere mention sends shivers down their spines. But here in Islamorada, there is a shark awareness program that aims to change the attitudes and minds of those who fear these majestic animals. Sharks are sometimes called living fossils, traversing the oceans for over 400 million years.
Sharks are extremely threatened in our world right now and are extremely important to our ecosystems. And if we don't do something, we're going to lose some of these shark species, and it's going to be a massive snowball effect in our ecosystem. The media, unfortunately, portrays these things sometimes as being these bloodthirsty killing machines. And, that's Hollywood. That couldn't be further from the truth.
Shark awareness programs in Islamorada aim to change all that.
The dive industry here in the Keys are offering shark awareness dives. And what this does, it's an opportunity for divers from all over the world to learn, to educate themselves of what we just explained, why they're threatened, why we have to protect them. So we go through that and we can bring their awareness into them, and then we allow them to go dive with these amazing creatures out there in their environment. And so not only is it dispelling their fear, it's dispelling the myths that sharks are killing machines but it's also educating them on why they're important and how to protect them. So our goal here in the Keys as dive operators is to educate these divers where when they leave, they have a new sense of why sharks are important and how they can become involved to help protect them.
Diving into the important role sharks play in our oceans is one of the main goals of this program, along with educating the next generation of divers.
The next generation is very in tune with our climate. They're very in tune with helping restore Earth, and helping numerous different climate issues that we're facing right now. And one of those are sharks, believe it or not. And we teach these kids the exact thing we teach the adults. Why the sharks are important, why they're threatened, what they can do to help, why they shouldn't fear them, and then why they should go out and actually experience diving with these amazing creatures. And hopefully that education, bring up that generation is only going to, snowball all this and help out for years to come.
Why are people so fascinated with sharks?
I think one of the reasons that people are so fascinated by this species shark has to do a lot with media. You know, we grew up in an era of Shark Weeks and movies like Jaws, and you know, the shark became this apex predator that you know, you should not even be within the same, you know, miles from. To now, where we can have these divers go out and dive with that mythical creature that they grew up somewhat fearing. They go out and they dive with them, and they are just blown away that they're actually diving with something that they have feared since they were a child after watching the movie Jaws, for instance. And you know, afterwards they come up and they're hooting and hollering, and you know, they go home and they talk about, you know, I dove with sharks, you know.
So is the program working?
When it comes to this shark awareness, it's working. It's not only working here in the Keys, it's working all over.
And the goal? For visitors of Islamorada to leave as shark ambassadors, ready to share with people back home their experience.
We have to do something. You know, we have to turn this table around and to protect these things. And it's happening. We're doing it.
Here in the Florida Keys are numerous organizations that play an active role in coral restoration. Organizations like iCare, Coral Restoration Foundation, and MO are just a few.
All right, Eric, so what we're gonna be doing today is we're headed out to one of our dive sites, and we've got some coral that we picked up from the nursery, and we've got a boat full of divers, and we're gonna meet them out there at the site, and we're gonna help them transplant some coral.
This is gonna be the first step. It's gonna take a little bit of elbow grease. You can see I'm working with the coral on the far side of the nail from me.
Today we are going to be transplanting coral. We're gonna put the coral in divers' hands. So before we actually get out on the boat, everybody here went through a training session this morning where we break down all the information that divers need to know. What is a coral? Why are corals so important? And also talking about some of the science that is being done with our partners down at Mote Marine Laboratory. So we're not just putting corals out on the reef, we're trying to hedge our bets and put the corals out that will have the highest chance of survival. So you're taking these people that have fallen in love with this environment and they want to give back and make a difference. And we're giving them the tools to help them be an active part of coral restoration. And we're able to see people of all ages from all over the country, all over the world, getting excited about doing this work. And that's been a huge learning experience for us and a really awesome way, again, to get more and more coral out there to help us rebuild our reef. Having these divers go down and be a part of this restoration process, and they come up, they have these huge smiles on their faces, they're excited about what they did, and then they get to come back a week, a month, a year later and see their corals thriving. And it's incredibly empowering and excited, and that's a huge way that I measure our success. What I've learned here in the Florida Keys and interacting with this community is everyone is so supportive of this mission. Everyone understands the importance of this reef, the importance of the collaboration and working together for a common goal. And it's been absolutely outstanding to see the locals, the businesses, the dive shops that we partner with, the visitors. Everyone is so supportive of what we're doing and really bending over backwards to help us make this difference. And that has been incredibly powerful. If you can get a community excited about coral restoration, they're behind you 100%. And that education of the everyday person, the recreational diver, the non-diver that comes down on vacation, if you can educate people and get them excited and passionate about this conservation issue, you have an army on your hands that can all make a difference.